It didn't even pick it up. Noise cancel.
No.
Nah, it's all right. Sons of Liberty, we're here. We got Monk. Let's do it. Monk, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why did you want to come on the podcast?
Well, like I said, Winterstein and I served together, all I ever heard him talk about was how he wanted to, do something like this, share his thoughts, his feelings, his views, and just being able here to support him and be a part of that dream he's chasing. That's what family does. And I will say I was a little bit jealous whenever he said he had a new friend. I kind of told him he's not allowed to do that, but obviously he didn't listen. But like I said, that's why I'm here. I like what you guys do. It's nice to see somebody talk about this and do their research and show what they're finding and be objective. I'm probably going to say things that you may or may not agree with, and it's just you keep it real.
Yeah, we try to. Just don't look at the TikTok comments. Jesus Christ. Whew. I don't know if
we're getting
you use.
hated.
Oh my
We're
god!
a lot of hate on TikTok.
It's relentless, man. These people are like, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, please elaborate. I don't need to. Oh. All right.
Well, I mean, I guess in a way, if you think about it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you why it makes sense. So now it does. Now it absolutely makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He's proving the point. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't need to tell you. You should already know. Oh, how enlightening. What an erudite retort. Okay.
And so I'm going to just start off, I'm not, Democrat, Republican, leftist, right wing. I'm a middle of the fence person. I believe in going with a candidate who relates to what I feel is the most important, which is the center of democracy.
Right.
And so, I mean, and again, I touched on, I like Trump because of his demeanor, the way he acts, he carries himself. I relate to that. And again, that's something that I think that's what a lot of people are reason why a lot of people are drawn to Donald Trump. And the fact that regardless of what anybody wants to say, he is a brilliant businessman. You want to say America's not a business. The hard truth of it is, if you look at it, I don't know when it turned, but this country became a business, and why not have somebody who is successful in business run the business?
Right.
When a lot of our stuff is based off of GDP, exports, imports, whatever. And again, I'm not an expert. I don't dive down rabbit holes. I look at it from a logical perspective. So,
Sure.
If there's anything I say that is incorrect, another thing about me is I believe in learning, and if you can teach me something, teach away, and I'm not going to get mad about it.
Well, I think that's kind of a telling thing is that, I got into a little bit of discourse in the comment section earlier this week, and I said that it almost seems like consistency, not only consistency, but open-mindedness, like the ability to admit one's flaws and then learn from it is kind of an enigma in 2025. Like, it's kind of wild. It's like, you talk about, oh, well, I'm leaving this out of an argument, or I'm not saying this whole thing. It's like, well, you're misrepresenting the truth. But if you're telling the whole truth, you think that there'd be something to learn from it if you don't know it. But so many people are just like downplaying the reality of what's going on in the world that no one's even having open conversations anymore.
Yeah,
like
they're given
it's so black and white, but they want to like cover it up to where it stays black and white, but nothing in the world is black and white. Like, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to learn. We don't know what the hell we're talking about half the time because, well, that's not true. If we're backing up a cited source, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
If we're backing up a cited source, then we're reading directly from the horse's mouth. Like, it's coming straight from the source. But anymore, the discourse that people have is so prevalent with the spreading of misinformation. It doesn't even make sense. So the fact that you're literally sitting here saying, I'm middle of the road, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to be open minded, but I am opinionated, is that not kind of what the founding fathers' intent was? Like, is that not kind of like, hey, we should listen to different angles and perspectives, but also we should be profound in our viewpoints? Like, it's crazy that that's a foreign concept anymore. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and there's one thing to always remember, and and I think this is one thing that a lot of people in our society forget. There's two truths. There's your truth. There's my truth. My truth necessarily ain't more truthful than yours, or
Right.
yours more truthful than mine. And that's where I think a lot of friction is caused, because somebody else will not come with it with that same perspective, and they're going to be saying, well, this is my truth and you have to accept it because everything you say that contradicts this is a lie.
Right.
And that's not how I carry myself. I love having the difficult conversations. I love getting into topics that are quote unquote taboo.
Right.
And the reason why I like to do that is because I want to know the other person's perspective. I want to walk in their shoes the best that I can and try to see where I can change my thinking without changing who I am. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah,
That makes sense.
that's the beauty of a free and open exchange of ideas. That's how you learn more, like you said. When you So there's two
Yeah.
perspectives, but the truth, the only way
Yeah.
to discover the truth is to put your perspective to the test.
Well, I
Yeah.
can tell you
And
this, my
what
friend,
if
is
there's certain aspects that are wrong, you drop them. If you're correct,
right.
you keep it, and you keep just honing that.
Well, I can tell
Exactly.
you this, my friend. Coming on here and talking about it, especially the certain websites that we upload on, you will be in the frontline trenches of this discourse that people have with these discovering new ideas. So
Mhm.
this will be
Yeah,
a
and
good
and I
one.
I absolutely welcome it, because again, and you said, you cite sources and stuff like that, and if it's okay, I want to try to kind of caveat into that a little
Of course.
bit. So with me, when it comes to misinformation, at this point, with everything that's gone on, I can't trust what's real, what's not real. I believe all
Especially with AI.
exactly, and then I believe also, you know, the news. It's not news; it's entertainment, because they can say whatever they want and they can spin it however they want. Again, it's a matter of opinion. It's fine. I take it with a grain of salt, but I can go out and I find 20 articles, 10 agree, or 10 are, you know, on the path that I'm thinking, 10 are the exact opposite. Which one's right?
Right.
Who do you trust?
Right.
And I think that is a major downfall. I love free speech. I believe it's a staple in our country, but with with that comes the risk of what to believe.
Right. Right. And you're 100% correct. I also think that a major issue with that is the bipartisan thinking, in the sense of there's only two ways to think. And those of us that are kind of in the middle, like I took a Winterstein sent me, I don't know if he sent it to you, but a political spectrum analysis test. And when I took it, I got center right. So I'm like almost in the middle. I was as close to the middle as you can get while being right, you know? And the issue with that is the political parties, and especially the news, are trying to create this bipartisan mindset in the United States. And it has been that way for a long time, which is, again, against what the founding fathers' intent was. George Washington, when he was exiting office, literally spoke on the dangers of the two-party system and how having black and white thinking will be the downfall of America. And it does suck, because people like us who sit here and say, and this is going to happen to you, like it's cut and dry, going to happen. because of the way people are. You say you're a centrist, right? Like you're center of the, like you're middle of the road. Like you probably, free speech is about the most liberal ideology you can have. That is about the most liberal ideology that you can have as a United States citizen. You will be called a right-wing extremist for saying that you appreciate Donald Trump. Like, it's gonna happen because people have to operate in a world with labels. Everyone has to be labeled as something, and it sucks. It sucks because people don't want to associate with certain labels. It's like modern day segregation. It's insane.
Yeah, and you know what I want to say to that. You want to label if anybody wants to label me a right wing extremist, tell me why.
Right.
Help me grow as a person because I am willing to accept that. Maybe I am skewed in my thoughts. I will fully admit I am a human being. I am not perfect, but I do believe in what I believe in. And give me concrete facts to show why I'm wrong, not just, oh, because I said so.
Oh,
Yeah,
because you hurt my fifis.
they'll usually just make false assumptions, painting you as a far right extremist. Like, oh, well, you said this, so that means you also believe this, this, and this, and list the entire right wing ideology that you probably don't even agree with.
Right.
And again, I mean, I I'm gonna really make some heads explode. Just like we were talking a little while ago. Barack Obama, very, very well spoken. When he spoke, I wanted to listen. And I think, and it goes into this animosity towards Trump because whenever you sit there and you are conditioned to see these people in power have just a very well articulated vocabulary and articulate is not the right word. That I think that has to do something like moving your arms around. See, again, I'm not a perfect person. I mean, I'm not even the
No,
smartest person in the
articulated
world.
works. It's the way you convey something that works.
But again, I did like that. Until the decline of Joe Biden's, and the way he spoke, I did want to listen whenever he was with the Obama administration.
Hubbada,
Whenever he was
shubbada, hubbada.
I don't know what you said, and I don't think you do either.
Oh man.
But
I
again,
like.
it goes into that, and then to me, I see Donald Trump on the big stage just being very direct, very very coarse, and it's a nice change. Sometimes change is good, sometimes change is bad, but for me, I'd like that change. Do I think that's appropriate for a leader at that level to be like that? No, not really. But it connects to the average everyday citizen that because none of us, at the end of the day, none of us are proper 24/7. None of us are. And, if you tell me you are, I'm not going to believe you.
No,
So it's
not at
nice
all.
to see somebody that's real, quote unquote. Um, I'm just using that term, that speaks like we would speak to each other.
Right.
Yeah, you remind me of this. Patrick Henry, known for delivering the speech "Give me liberty or give me death," helped convince the
one of the
colonies to go to
youngest
war against the British,
Yep,
against
one
the
of the
crown.
youngest founding fathers.
Yeah, he was specifically known for being, just like Trump is today, a voice that connected with the common man, unlike
Yeah.
anyone else. They were using the proper English. They knew how to speak like politicians, but he spoke in a
Eloquently.
way, yeah, that connected with the common man, and they loved it. And he ended up winning them over for the cause.
There's a term for zealous speaking in the sense of like rallying up a crowd, not in the sense of like spewing ridiculousness. Take that for how you will. I'm sure many people will take that out of context. But anyways, let's move forward. Firebrand is the term that would be used for it. Trump is very much a firebrand in
Populist.
stark contrast to what a lot of politicians have been in the last, well, Jesus, I mean, pretty much ever. And I think people got tired of it. They start hearing the rhetoric drain the swamp. They start hearing all the, the pro USA isolationism type speech, and a lot of people resonate with it. I do. Do I think that sometimes he does? Do I think that probably 90% of the time he's doing it to resonate with his base? Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's a tactic, same way Obama did when he was eloquently speaking like he was at a fucking Oxford graduation. But do I think that the information that he's conveying is good a lot of the times? I mean, sure, but I mean, I do appreciate why he is approaching it the way he is.
Yeah, and again, it's you're never gonna make everybody happy, and there has to be, and I know it's easier said than done, but there has to be this open forum. You know,
Right.
that has to be there. It is crucial. Again, I'm a moderately well spoken individual, and I know my limitations, and I know that I don't know everything, and that's why I like to talk about this stuff. Like Winterstein and I would, when we were in Korea, we would have conversations, and he would tell me I'm stupid because it wouldn't make no sense.
It's okay. I've
Actually, he wouldn't.
assumed that mantle for him.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't call me stupid because he knows if he did, I'd pummel him. But he would do it politely.
Right. I
No, but
humbly think thou art dumb.
yeah, I'd tell him, you call me stupid, I'm gonna make sure I make it even colder in this damn room.
Turn that fan back on. I heard that story.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just say, but I mean, I think I go, we kind of segued off a little bit, but I'm gonna go back to it, and I just think that I go where my beliefs and my values align. I'm not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am a constitutionalist, is what I'm going to call it. I believe in our Constitution. I
Welcome to
believe
the
that is
club.
the law of the land. I do believe there is some uh I do believe
Discrepancy?
yeah, and I believe there is some racism in there. I do believe that. But our Constitution is a live document. It has changed. Has it changed enough? I don't know. I can't speak for the feelings and the points of view of our ancestors that founded this country. Um, but at some point, again, easier to say than done. And if this strikes a chord wrong, I don't mean it that way. But how do we get past it? And getting past that starts with being open minded and having the difficult conversations and understanding you have your opinion, I have my opinion, but having that respect to back up why and show that empathy with who you're having the conversation with and try to see it from their perspective. And that's what I try to do.
Sure.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. I want to try to see it from your perspective. And yeah, we come from all different walks of life. We're not going to, I will never be able to fully understand another person's feelings of what they go through, what they've gone through, what they're currently going through. But I could try to understand it to evolve myself as a human, as a person, and as an American.
Sure. Well put. Just out of curiosity, where in the Constitution do you think the racism lies?
Well, was it the 3/5 or whatever it is? 2/3. I I'm
You
very
talking
bad
about the
American.
Civil War,
Yeah.
Emancipation
post Civil
Proclamation?
War?
Yeah, where the landowners or the slave owners, their their slaves, counted for 3/5. The 3/5. That's what it was.
Right.
To me, they I, slavery. That is just absolutely disgusting. The
Right.
treatment, how it started, I don't know. again, you can read millions of different things. The best of what I can remember from history class, whenever they were still teaching this stuff, the landowners found it as a cheap option to keep up with the mass production of tobacco, sugar, and whatever textiles, cotton, um, and then but again, that mistreatment, and then to degrade them down to not even a full person, that is where it kind of
Yeah.
like,
So
y'all could have done better.
yeah, definitely racism going on during the time, but in the Constitution, I would argue that there's no racism in the Constitution, and the slavery abolitionists actually used the Constitution as justification to free the slaves.
Well, the reason I
They were
brought that
created
up
equal.
and just asked, because the 13th, 14th Amendment, 13th, 14th, and 15th, excuse me, are the ones that kind of like ended that. So that was just kind of, because we got the 13th
Right.
Amendment that abolished it, the 14th Amendment that granted citizenship, which did at the time include the partial credit, but obviously that is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
And
And
then
I'm
the
glad you said
15th
that.
Amendment.
Yeah, and so and then that brings up another good point. A lot of this is living in the past and not moving forward. And again, and like I said, I'm guilty of focusing on that. I see that. I think our country is great. I think our country is one of the best, if not the best. I think we have our problems just like everywhere else. But I think, I just think, when it started, stuff that was beyond our control has nothing to do with us personally partaking in it, has caused a stain, no matter how you look at it, from other perspectives. And this is coming from conversations I have with other people that feel this way,
Sure.
and that's where I've learned to really like try to see that. And again, I will never understand that. I mean, I will never understand what these people went through,
Right.
and
Well, none of
and
us will, because none of us were alive back then.
and so I mean, I think like I said, there was some
There's some bumps in the
hints.
road.
Yeah, but it has evolved, and I
That's the
believe,
beauty in it.
and yeah, exactly, and I firmly believe it will continue to evolve until the day that where all people in America could come to a consensus and say we have finally made it to where we needed to be. Hopefully, we're all alive when that day comes. I don't see it happening, but Um, I would like to be optimistic with it, but
Right.
but the realist in me is it's not going to happen.
Sure.
And that's very sad to say,
It
in
is.
my opinion. It's very very sad to say. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of where I think it has those undertones of racism in there, and like you said, it has evolved to try to bring that equality back. And again, it's unfortunately it's a trial and error type of thing, in my opinion. It's you got to see what's going to work and what's not going to work, and anytime there's change, there is going to be pain points in the change.
Of
Um,
course.
Yeah.
and I'd like to live my life as somebody who is on board with change, but not giving up what I hold near and dear to me and my values.
Sure. So a moderate, if those exist. All right. So one of the first things that we wanted to discuss today was the idea of the red flag laws. Those are. Let me get the exact. Okay, here we go. So it's colloquially known as the extreme risk law. That is what the red flag law is. So currently, there are 21 states that have adopted the policy. So we have Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Florida, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Vermont. So 21 out of the 50 states in the Union. Do
Ooh.
we think that that is in direct violation of the Second Amendment? Or do we think that that's something that is, well, it's good in theory?
So, a little bit of a devil's advocate here. I believe it is good in theory,
Sure.
but where I lean heavier, I believe that can become an infringement on our constitutional rights under the Second Amendment. Again, I didn't do a lot of research on it. I just know I just know the meat and potatoes of it, and it is not right for somebody to have a grudge against someone and they have firearms and to make a claim that, oh, they're a threat. I know they have firearms. I'm worried about the safety of their family and others. And then that has to go. That has to be reported. Then it has to go through the judicial process. It has to go in front of a judge, and the judge has to review it and say, yes, I agree. Then law enforcement agents have the right to come and confiscate the weapons. And where they say it's not an infringement is because, yes, if they deem you a threat and they come and confiscate the firearms, you get your firearms back once you have been deemed no longer a threat. But then that still leaves that opinion in the hands of other people. And if you get somebody who would be, unfortunately, is somebody who was a victim of a firearm related violence, and they're going to have a stronger opinion, they're going to be looking for reasons to say you cannot have these back, and that's how I feel that would go. Now, I think there needs to be concrete, hardcore proof that somebody is a threat. Waving a gun around, saying, "I'm going to shoot all of y'all." Yeah, take that motherfucker, son of a guns away, and because
Hey, speak from the heart.
yeah, well, take that motherfucker's guns away. There's obviously something wrong. Somebody that unstable probably shouldn't be able to have a firearm readily available.
Yeah.
But again, you can't. Where it really bothers me is then we start picking and choosing which constitutional rights should be amended, abolished, whatever. You know, I'm gonna say something very unpopular. I think sometimes freedom of speech is just as dangerous as a firearm.
Oh, well, I mean, I would argue that the speech in general can be more dangerous than firearms
Yeah,
because rhetoric is how you stir a populace.
exactly, and that's
Inside of right.
and so I think yeah, and then you're gonna have, well, when is it saying anything ever really killed anybody? Well, you got to
Little
look at it
mustache.
from you got to look at it from the root cause. And I believe it was said on y'all's last podcast. It's you're focusing on the symptom, not the root cause.
Right. Well, I think the issue when discussing like the dangers of the freedom of speech, I don't think it's more so the speech itself. And obviously, freedom of speech is something that never needs to go away. I think we can all
No,
agree with that. Freedom of speech
absolutely.
is like the
Keep it. It
last
needs.
hill to die on. Like if we're dying on a hill, it's freedom of speech. But I don't think it's more so like what people say. I think it's how people respond to what people say. And I think a big issue with it is people not being equipped. I think that they are not educating themselves to the point where they can question things for themselves. Like they hear something and they just eat it up. They're just like, like exactly what he said is exactly what happened. And it's
Yep.
like, hang on, whoa, why are you just believing these things? Like half these people that are saying these insane rhetoric, spewing whatever, hate, agendas, whatever it may be, people are just immediately like, that's a fact. They don't research it. They don't. Sorry, I'm on a roll. Go ahead.
You're good. I love you bring that up because I've been attacked for my speech online, and one of the things I've been attacked with arguments is that I'm responsible for the person hearing what I'm saying.
Right. Right.
So
You are supposed to police other people's thoughts. Wow.
Right. If I say something, whatever actions they take after that, it's my responsibility.
It's your fault. Yep.
And I think that's super dangerous because it's just enabling what you just talked about. People just eating up the first thing they hear and not questioning it.
It's policing other people's lives, which is a direct violation of personal freedom.
I have no authority. You have no authority.
Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck am I?
We're supposed to trust our fellow Americans to make the right decision.
Right.
But back to the red flag law. So I would even argue that it not only violates the Second Amendment, but even the Fifth Amendment, which states that no one shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property. And with the red flag laws, you don't have to be without due process. That's the important part. With the red flag laws, you don't have to be convicted of a crime.
Nope.
They go solely off the report and the judge's decision. They take it, your property, and they argue, oh, well, it doesn't actually violate it because you can appeal and get it back. But they've already taken the property.
Right.
The appeal, you should have an opportunity to appeal before they actually take it from you. And maybe we can talk about it possibly being a thing. But yeah, that's a total violation. 2 amendments in the Constitution.
Right. And then it comes down to is then what is the criteria to make you feel safe? Then it becomes a selfish act because it's not about both parties. It's about both parties involved. It's about one party and how they feel.
Well, that's the issue. Is the catalyst of what you're saying, or rather the crutch of what you're saying, the linchpin that binds it all together is discretion. But whose discretion? it's hearsay. It's literally like, and I, not to be anecdotal here, but I do have somewhat of an example. It can be researched. I'm not going to give exact names for privacy, but there was a situation that happened with someone close to me. Not that happened to them, but it happened to someone they know, they work with, where their son did something where he should have had this enacted. And they lived in a state where it was a thing. Yet when it was tried to be done on him, like when they tried to do it on him, for some reason, I don't know the whole story. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit, but I swear you could literally Google the dude's name. He made the front cover of a fucking paper in a tragedy recently. It should have been done, but it didn't happen. So it's like, not only is it something that is constitutionally very questionable, but it's not even being enacted properly. So like, if we're not even implementing it in the right ways, and it's a very borderline question, unconstitutional thing, what's the solution here other than just completely doing away with it? I mean, because this was a situation where people lost their lives, and there was known reports of people that had tried to get the situation handled in a manner of the red flag, the extreme risk. And the answer was, well, no, we can't do it. And it's like, so you can only do it for certain people. And there are cases of pissed off rivals, exes, whatever you want to say, and enemies of the people trying to do it in revenge. I mean, it's similar to like you've heard about swatting, right? I mean, swatting sounds horrific. I don't know if you've ever seen these live streams, but you got a whole tactical team of SWAT dudes at your door. You got 10 dudes breaching your fucking door thinking you got people held hostage at gunpoint. And I mean, that's just
caught off guard
playing
like that. You're lucky.
I mean, it could be right now. We could look over our shoulder and there's a dude aiming an M4 at you. And that's a real thing. That happens. So it's like, where is the overreach too much? And especially with the red flag laws, where they just kick your door open and take everything you own as far as firearms. Like, it seems like a blatant violation, especially if it's not even being used in the proper manner.
I don't even have I don't even have a rebuttal to it, to be honest. Again, this is where my ignorance, if you will come into play, because I can't trust the information that I read. And that's just me. I don't know if I could trust it.
Sure.
I think there needs to be something. Again, I love the Second Amendment. I love firearms. To me, I do competitive marksmanship with them. I hunt with them. I don't do anything that is something that would put myself or anybody else's safety in jeopardy.
You're not walking
But
around Chicago with the Draco with the 50-round drum mag?
no, no, no.
No? Iraq? No, that ain't you? Damn.
But I mean, and again, and we're gonna go, to further expand on it. I don't think there's an issue with some of these things that that the government has put in place to whenever it comes to buying a firearm. You want to carry one, you need to have a license, because in order to get the license, you have to get training, you have to get education on them, and I think that's a big problem. There's a stigma on firearms that there's no. We'll talk. People will talk about sex, drugs, drinking, all this other stuff, but they won't speak about firearms. It is a taboo conversation to have, and that alone is what makes the idea of a firearm even more dangerous. I mean, that's my 2 cents on that. I mean, if the government says, you know what, you have your license to carry, but when you buy a firearm, we want to go ahead and still do a 3-day background check to make sure that everything's up to par. Fine, go ahead.
Okay.
Make me wait 3 more days. I don't care.
Right.
Because what it's going to do is going to sit in my safe until I go to the range or I take it out, and it could be sitting in my safe for 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 hours. I don't know. So make me wait.
Let me
I
ask
don't
you
care.
your opinion on this. Winterstein, you'll have to help me with this. Do you remember the conversation that we had before about the waiting period?
I was about to bring that up.
Okay. All
So I
right,
was
we're
just
on
gonna
the same
ask,
page.
like, so the issue I would have with that is, what about, especially a lot of times women are victims of assault, rape, and stalking from men that are obviously able to overpower them, stronger than them, and a gun would be their only way of
Great
protecting
equalizer.
themselves. Yeah, the great equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
What about a woman who is under an active threat, like a stalker or someone threatening them, and then they're put on like
The wait list.
the wait list? Because I know a lot of cases women are only getting the gun in the first place because a threat has already presented itself. So that's the one thing I would argue for the wait list.
Yeah, and I could see that, but again, that all comes down to the core issue is there is never conversations about firearms. About the fact that a firearm will only fire when the trigger is pulled. And I know we're gonna get in the comments, probably, oh, well, the Sig Sauers, you drop them and it hits the firing pin and the round goes off, or a round will cook off. These are very rare occasions. Yes, is it possible for this stuff to happen? Yes, but these are not intended. That's not what they're intended to do. You're gonna have malfunctions. Yes, things are gonna happen. But unfortunately, if there is a waiting period, there's a waiting period. But I will say I don't know if there's still a waiting period, because if you have a license to carry, it shows you've already went through the background check, you've already done your fingerprinting, you've already went through training. You are somebody who is a responsible firearm owner. That's what that little ID shows. And I believe that should be a must to buy a firearm. I really do. Because again, I personally feel somebody who exercises their rights, and good on them. I fully support exercising your constitutional rights. But if you have not been trained, I'm going to be more afraid of you having a firearm than somebody else that's coming in to partake in the horrific act of a mass shooting. Uh, I just, and the problem is, you don't know who's been trained, who hasn't been trained. You could get fucking Jimmy Fuckhead that watches Rambo and plays Call of Duty, and he thinks that it's just like in the video games, and then he's gonna want to be a hero and get the key to the city, and he's gonna end up killing more innocent people. More innocent people are gonna be injured by this. I think there needs to be training. I don't think forcing somebody, if they want to own a firearm, to go through training, get the license, understand it, and get the education on it. I don't think that's an infringement. A lot of people will say it is. I don't think it is, and this is my opinion. And it's just, I don't know. I just
Let me ask you this, Mike. Do you think that should be segregated to handguns and personal protection weapons, or do you think that should be for all firearms? Because there's a lot of people out there that would argue that with like, well, me and my peepaw like to go out and duck hunt every other Saturday, and I got my my over and under 20 gauge, and he taught me how to hunt when I was 6, and I don't think I need no formal type of firearm training for that. Do you think that it's reasonable for everyone? Do you think that it's kind of situational?
well, so you people are going to argue that they don't think they should have a license for a shotgun to go duck hunting. But what do you need to go duck hunting?
A gun.
You need a hunting
Oh,
license.
a hunting license. I was thinking way too literally about it. Sorry.
But you need a hunting license.
That's Buffalo Trace talking, gentlemen.
But you need a hunting license.
Right.
I
So
mean,
you
I'll be
need
the
one
first.
type of license. I understand. Yeah.
So, but again, I can see where you can
Yep.
make the argument that they're two different things. So if you're okay with getting a license to say you go hunting, why would you not be okay with getting a license that makes you sit through what I think it's an 8-hour class, 1 8-hour class where you have 4 hours of where they cover the gun laws, they cover weapons safety, and then you have 4 hours of practical training where you go out and you learn to actually shoot it and understand it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think I will say, I'm sorry, I'm not
Very
answering
good.
Solomon's question, but I think I, I'm going to be a hypocrite here because I grew up with shotguns and I didn't have a license, or in long rifles I didn't have a license for them whenever we would go hunting with my dad. But I think with the way the world has shifted and the dynamic of it and the lack of knowledge that is actually covered with firearms, I think everything should have some kind of formal training before you can get it.
That's a good point, and I think you should have a license to vote. So you make a good point.
Yeah, I mean, you need a license for everything. You need a license to buy the alcohol you drink. You need a license to buy the tobacco you dip. Or you smoke. You need a license to drive a car.
The funniest thing about the conversation that we're having right now, gentlemen, is that the reason that we need licenses for so many things is that our forefathers had one little simple thing called common sense. They had the ability to be able to distinguish between right and wrong. They had the ability to be able to, understand that most Americans are trying to better America for one another, not for themselves, their particular alignment. And it was a thing of complete. It was preposterous to think that something akin to a mass shooting would ever happen.
Right,
It was
and I like your
so. My point is, I think a big issue is not only societal norms, but I think a lot of it also plays into mental health.
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And you
Yep.
talk about they all had a common understanding. We are absolutely lacking that today. The whole world is. We can't even agree on our reality.
Right.
Talking about misinformation, and we're living in a post-truth world, and we're only presented two narratives when both could be the incorrect one.
Both are
Yeah.
We
extreme.
can't even.
Both are biased.
Yeah, we can't even agree on simple truths.
Right.
Yeah.
Certain gender things. So
Sky is blue. No,
how
it's
can
not.
we even try to have common sense, like you
I
said?
I just want to bring this up really quickly. I'm just going to share a link really quick so we're not saying, "Oh, Mr. Nick, it's not real." So this is an
Source.
article from Fox 17 Nashville. A woman killed while waiting on a gun permit for personal protection. New Jersey woman waiting to get her handgun permit was found stabbed to death outside her home this week, allegedly by the very person she was trying to get a gun to protect herself against. 39-year-old Carol Brown was trying to obtain a permit after a restraining order against an ex-boyfriend installing security cameras around her home and an alarm system. Brown took the measures to protect herself against a 45-year-old man, Michael Ettel, her ex-boyfriend. So, just so everyone's like, that never happened.
Well, maybe in situations like that, like extreme situations where you can, a lot of times when I shouldn't say a lot of times because I don't know, but you know, if it's anything like what you hear about when these women understand and recognize and acknowledge that something's not right, there's a stalker or there is, immediate threat. There should be, go down to the police station. Again, unfortunately, that's going to be taking up resources, but whatever. Go down to the police station. They have the systems to find out. They can run your fingerprint and find out in however long it takes and see you're good. Sit there with the cop because a cop is trained with the firearm, and then just have that time. Sit down with them and use that as a way to expedite for extenuating circumstances. And I think a woman needing to protect herself to me is an extenuating circumstance. I'm not going to be like, oh, I need to rush down and get it because I have a pistol competition that's in 2 days that I didn't do my due diligence on. So I need you to expedite this so I can buy this firearm.
Right.
No,
I see
but
what you're saying.
but maybe have it go off into something like that.
Unforeseen circumstances.
Yeah,
Right.
and, because you're going to be able, and just like in that poor woman, I'm sorry, my sympathies go out to her family. That wasn't right, but in that circumstance, she had, without a doubt, proof of imminent danger to herself. It is her fucking constitutional right to protect herself.
Well, not only that, but I think the crutch of the whole thing is that she also had a paper trail. Like, there was already a known restraining order put in. So,
Yeah,
like,
so
they
that
already knew.
alone, should have been able to expedite.
Which, let's not talk about the ball that was dropped by the PD. Not being able to. Well, I mean, I guess you never know because I guess that the dude didn't do anything. But I don't 100% agree with the whole thing just because I'm like a hardball Second Amendment guy. Like, I believe like if they have it, we should have it. But I also know that that's like a very extreme thing to say.
And I want to be clear again. I'm going to sound very hypocritical. I'm just saying, from my perspective, if this is going to be forced upon me, I don't care. I definitely don't think you should tell me what I'm allowed to own and what I'm not allowed to own.
You're like, listen, motherfucker, if I want to buy an Abrams, train me how to use the Abrams. I'll wait on the goddamn permit for it.
If I could go out and get me a fucking Bradley and shoot that 242, motherfucker, I'm already trained. Give me the $100 billion it costs for it, whatever. I think, but I agree. I think when the Second Amendment was drafted, it was there and in place to make sure that the people or the well-regulated militia has comparable equipment to the enemy.
Do you think that that's still relevant?
The well-regulated militia part, or having equipment comparable to the potential enemy?
The well-regulated militia is very obvious that is not. I mean, the entire makeup of the United States, including the military, is completely opposite of what the founding fathers wanted. I mean, it was supposed to be every state has their own militia that's well-regulated. It's supposed to be a volunteer force of young, able-bodied fighting men that then come together when the militia is called, and it forms the fighting body of the United States Army. That's what it was supposed to be. There's not supposed to be ever a standing army in the continental United States because of the fucking redcoats. I mean, you literally had soldiers walking around telling everyone what to do with fucking rifles and shit. But do you think that it still applies that like we should be able, because realistically, let's be honest, the Second Amendment is as much there for hunting and personal protection as it is for keeping basically a gun to the government's head.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's relevant still today? Because there's a lot of people like Joe Biden specifically, like let's call it for what it is, that said, like, what is an AR-15 going to do against a jet?
It's not going to do anything. So why shouldn't I be allowed to have a jet that has the same capabilities? If you want to come, because at the end of the day, you're making your way into my family circle. Winterstein's already there, and my wife and my daughter in the other room are there, and I will do anything and everything to protect my loved ones and my
Right.
family. And you're right. Joe Biden is absolutely right. One of the few things he got right is an AR-15 is not going to do anything against a fighter jet. It's not going to do anything against a Bradley fighting vehicle. It's not going to do anything against a tank. It's not going to do anything with somebody that's going to shoot a fucking rocket launcher at me. If I want to have a rocket launcher, I should be able to have a rocket launcher, and I'm using that because I heard that on the last podcast. I was like, that's fucking cool. I'll think about it. I have a rocket launcher, but I think
give me that fucking RPG, bro. It's cool. That's why I want it.
and that's why I want a lot of firearms that I want. It's because they are cool. I don't think I should be told I can't have. I don't have a need for it, but I want it, and that is my right as
Right.
not only an American but as a human. If I want something,
Right.
I should be able to have it.
Right.
It violates the entire mentality of the founding of our country. It's the government saying, "Oh no, we don't trust you, the people, to have that." Wait a
And
second.
there's a reason why.
Isn't our entire system of government set up because the people shouldn't trust the government?
I'm sorry. I thought
They're
the
trying to
government
flip
was
it.
supposed to be, we don't trust you, not you don't trust us. You work for us, bitch.
Yep.
I want them to tell me why they don't trust me.
Yeah.
What are you doing that makes you so concerned you can't trust me?
Well, I just want you to know right now, Monk, if you weren't already based on your history and the things you've done, being involved and associated with Winterstein and I on this, you're probably on a list somewhere now. So welcome to the club.
Well, Winterstein would already tell you from our personal experience and the favors that I did for probably our entire platoon. I was already on a list.
Just not to misquote here, but the exact quote, just for prosperity, or that's not the word prosperity.
Prosperity.
Whatever. Yeah, just for prosperity gospel. Just for clarity, we'll use that.
Posterity.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah,
You
I know
are
what you're trying to go with.
Buffalo's getting to me. The quote is, "What good are AR-15s when we have F-15s?" Oh, that's a knee slapper.
I'm surprised you didn't say
What good
AK-40.
is AK-47? What good is AK-15 when we have F-7?
What's an AR-47 going to do against an F-29?
Come on, man.
That comment alone should be reason why the American people should say, "Why the hell are you telling me I can't have it?"
Absolutely.
Well, they know best. That's why they believe in policing social media. Oh, I'm sorry, they didn't police social media. They just gave what was it? Millions of dollars to Facebook in order for them to fact check people and remove certain posts. Was that it, Winterstein?
And Elon Musk showed the receipts for Twitter too. It was happening
Twitter.
on Facebook, Twitter.
Oh, Elon Musk.
What do you propose?
But
Good old Elon Musk.
so I like how you brought up earlier that change, whether good or bad, is going to scare people because of the unknown or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's a good segue into like DOGE and everything going on, because that's a radical.
So you said you have a unique perspective on it, Monk, versus a lot of the rhetoric that's going around. Elaborate on that, will you?
So I am going to be a victim of DOGE. I think there was a comment made I'm going to just start with this. There was a comment made that, 19 to 25-year-olds shouldn't be telling me what to do. I think in this instance, age is irrelevant. My brother, Winterstein, significantly younger than me, and I still look to him for advice. Age is irrelevant. If these people have the experience to do what they're coming in to do, to create efficiencies, you know, by all means, age doesn't matter to me. It's that alone, a comment to where you're going to say that these 19 to 25-year-olds don't know what they're doing, that is discrimination at its finest based on their age. And that is
Ageism.
not appropriate, and that is not okay. I think DOGE is a great concept if it's going to actually uncover inefficiencies and wasteful spending. My thing is, if you're going to do it, show me the facts. Show me what you're doing. Don't just tell me what you're doing with it. Don't tell me what you found. Show me. Show me where you have got this data to make it relevant, to back it up, to make this worth it. Do I think mass layoffs, mass furloughs is a good way to go? No, because our American people now more than ever need their help. And these federal workers go in to provide this help. Yeah, you have your shitbags in there that don't do anything, and they put a stain on everybody in there that goes and works their ass off. But for me, I took the fork in the road because of my personal circumstances, and I'm not mad about it. Even if they would have came in and told me, "Hey, Mr. Monk, you're going to be terminated because your position's not needed." Okay, show me why it's not needed. Give me the facts, and I will accept it.
Show the receipts.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, I did this whole thing initially piss me off? Yeah, it sure the hell did. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. But then I have to realize, I look back and look at who's heading this up. Elon Musk. He has been tasked and tapped on the shoulder to take care of USA Incorporated and to help.
It's not a business.
It is a corporation, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not a
Hmm.
business.
The United
It
States
shouldn't be.
is an actual corporation.
And if it's going to eventually, if it's what they're saying is happening is true and can be substantiated, if it's going to make your life better, Winterstein's life better, my life better, my friends and family's life better, what's the problem with it?
Yeah, what I find most interesting about it is growing up, all I've ever heard from Democrats and Republicans around me is how corrupt, how inefficient the government is, and how there's this super inefficient bureaucracy that just gets in the way regardless if you're a Republican or Democrat. And everyone's admitted it for years. But all of a sudden, when someone's trying to actually take action and do something about it, now people are acting like the government's so clean and isn't inefficient, but
Yeah,
it's just hypocrisy.
what they're doing right now is they're making oranges out of apples. That's what they're trying to do. And so, and what I mean by that is, it's good when it fits your agenda, but now that it's not, it's no longer
Right.
a good thing to do.
Right.
I think, and again, I have to send. I don't know about what other federal workers have to do. I have to sit. Excuse me. I have to send weekly emails. Excuse me. I have to send weekly emails stating what I did last week or the week before. It seems minute, it seems irrelevant, but it's not my job to justify what I do. My job is to do what my daily duties are. Why you hired me for a position? Why are you making me justify what I do?
Right.
You
That's
know
one
what I
thing
do.
that I thought was
Yeah.
kind of weird. And the justification for a lot of it was like, oh, well, we want to see if these people are even like clocking in and checking their work emails. That being said, I think there is a lot of nuance to it where it's like, okay,
They go too far with
You
certain
you
things
think
like that.
that like they're laughing about it, but it's like the average federal employee that shows up, clocks in, does their shit, leaves, shouldn't have to justify their position.
Right.
Their bosses, their direct supervisors, their head supervisors should be the ones that are justifying their existence. I mean, not to say it like a, but the existence of the job. My job, I've just been laughing about it. I've never said what I do. I'm not going to say what I do. But my job is tracked in a completely different way. I do work for a certain agency, and I am tracked via GPS. So if they have any questions, pull up my records. You'll see exactly where I was at what time I was at. If you have any questions about it, feel free to contact me. You can
Well,
see the blisters on my feet.
the argument to be made with this whole thing is you're expecting me to justify and respond to emails. Motherfucker, I'm going to send you an email. You better respond.
Right.
What did you do last week?
Excuse me, Mr. Trump. What the fuck did you do? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're gonna, I think if you want to hold the grunts in the federal workforce to a higher standard, you yourself need to be holding yourself to that same standard.
Right. I 100% agree with that. And the biggest thing with it, from my point of view, is we don't really get a say in the creation of these agencies. Like, you get a vote and you hope that it's the best, right? But I mean, as United States citizens paying taxes as the taxpayer, we don't get to sit there and say, well, I think we need to hire another 5,000 people to the Department of Treasury. We need another 5,000 people to, the FBI. I think we need another 10,000. What the fuck was it? The IRS that
Yeah.
hired 20,000 agents in one
Yep.
year or some shit?
Yep.
And that they were all just canned. Like, we don't get
Yeah.
a say in that. So I do think that there is a level of standardization that needs to be achieved in order to justify the paycheck, in the sense of we are paying for it. But
Yep.
that being said, it's got to start at the top. You want to
Yeah.
talk about trickle down effects? You have to hold, speaking colloquially of the fucking director of the FBI, like we were just talking about it, you got to hold Cash Patel to the same standard as you hire the fucking intern getting coffee at the FBI headquarters. Like, it's
Yep.
the
Right.
same, and up and down. Like, you talk about the military, it's like where's the standard? There are standards. You have to meet the standard.
And what gets me is, and I know one of the hot topic for a lot of people is the returning to office 5 days a week. They want to sit there and say, oh, you got to return to office 5 days a week because the doctors, the architects, the mechanics, they don't get to work from home. The manufacturing workers don't get to work from home. Again, you're comparing apples and oranges. There's two completely different industries. If your job could be done from home, there's nothing, and you actually prove that you're doing your job, I don't see the problem with it. I mean, because there's a lot of single mothers out there that are federal workers,
Right.
and I don't know about y'all. Well, Winterstein, you would probably know, childcare. That is a racket and a half.
Right.
My sister pays an pays almost more a month for childcare than I do for the mortgage on my home. And working from home gives this individual the money they need to chase their slice of the American dream while still being there for their family.
Yeah.
Now, you do, but again, you do have the ones that abuse it and ruin it for everybody, and I understand that. But I think DOGE is a great concept. I think it can have its benefits. I think they're going about it entirely way too aggressive and not properly planning. But again, I'm not a billionaire that has successful businesses, so they obviously know something I don't know and what other people don't know. But at the end of the day, I think it could have been approached differently in a better way that could have eased the pain and the uncertainty that comes with change.
So I like that argument, and I like how it focuses on the individual circumstances of people, how some bad apples can ruin it for everyone, and it's just not. They shouldn't go about it that way. That is like my entire argument for being about reducing federal government. Because with federal government, that's why we believe in state rights over federal government. Because if when you put things to the state, like abortion, like the Department of Education, you're giving the people more power, where each state has different lives and different ways of living in each of the 50 states
You
can
don't like it?
actually,
Move.
and they can actually have the
I mean, that's an
education
easy
how
way
they
to
want.
say it because it's hard as fuck to move. Everyone knows it's hard as fuck to move. But at the end of the day, if you don't like it, it's better to do that than a federal fucking thing
You have
completely disagree
options. At
with.
least you have
Yeah.
Right.
options.
Right.
Exactly.
Everything being federal, you have to worry every time there's a new president.
Well, speaking on
Mhm.
abortion, that's why I was hammering it home to so many people, and we're not getting into abortion. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. It's way too late at night. But just to mention the topic, that's kind of what I was telling a lot of people about it. Is like, sure, so you're so about the election cycle with Kamala and Trump. Like a lot of people, they were single issue voters on it. And I was sitting there telling them, like, cool. So the only thing that's been proposed is 4 more years of certainty until another 4 years arises where you're like, I have no idea what's going to happen with it. Versus it getting sent back to the states, then it's like, okay, well, now you have the power to vote for it in local
it
elections.
it just moved closer to you.
Right.
I love it. I see the value in that.
I do too. But yeah, I definitely agree that it seems like DOGE has been doing good work, but they're kind of like a bull in a china shop.
Yes.
Where it's like, and I think a lot of that, I almost want to say a lot of that is more so to do not from their capabilities, but from following the rhetoric, which what is Donald Trump? He's draining the swamp. He doesn't really care about hitting, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like collateral damage. It's
Yeah.
like just swing it around, and I think it does kind of I think it does kind of harken back to the conversation that we had last episode where it's like the scalpel makes sense. We talked about a scalpel versus a sledgehammer. And I think right now it's kind of a sledgehammer, but I think a sledgehammer is better than nothing so
Yeah.
far.
This is going to. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
What this is
please.
going to do is this extreme. They're doing something that hasn't been done. That's been talked about for, I want to say, decades.
Right.
That they want to do, and nobody has done it. Nobody knows how to approach it, and you got to start somewhere. And
Right.
this is, in their opinion, is the best way to approach it. And this is where they are going to learn from their mistakes, because there is going to be mistakes made, and they're going to be able to look back and say, "Oh shit, laying off hundreds of thousands of federal workers, yeah, that was pretty fucking stupid. Maybe next time we come in with an approach of, you know, we do X, Y, Z, but we do it incrementally in phases. That way, the workers are protected, the American people get the support that they need, and it's just a cycle that eventually will find a good balance to keep it working like it needs to be, efficient, where the American people are the ones that are benefiting from all of these changes. Right now, I don't think American citizens are benefiting from the changes right now.
Right.
The scary thing is when will we have this benefit? When will we see the benefits of it? And I think that's the big problem that everybody has with DOGE.
So another thing I keep bringing up is Social Security too. That's another thing that everyone on both sides has been telling me growing up as well. Teachers I've had, family members, older
Yeah.
people in my
It's gonna
family
run out.
members, anyone I know. Everyone, you think you're gonna get Social Security? Nope, it'll run out by the time you reach the age for that. Everyone agreed that it was gonna run out. Everyone agreed that the current trajectory of just the United States economy in general, with our debt and everything, it was doomed.
Right.
People, like young people, are struggling to buy houses.
Huh.
Recently, it didn't look like people were going to be able to buy houses for another, like, maybe generation or a couple generations. The problem is
they
so great
fix
that
it.
even if you try to fix it, it's going to take generations to get back to where everything's affordable again. And so
If
maybe
it
that
can get
justifies a
there.
sledgehammer a little bit. But at
Yeah.
least, like you said, at least they're doing something.
Yes.
This has been talked about for so long.
I also want to just throw this in there really quick since this is kind of near and dear to everyone. I just pulled up a fact check, and this is just relevant to November of last year. Has the Pentagon failed its 7th audit in a row? Yes. If you're failing an audit for 7 years in a row, and the defense budget, which according to this article was $824 billion, I think maybe a little bit of investigation
Yeah.
is deserved.
That's why they need to go to war so bad, so they could throw that number they're missing on military
Yeah.
equipment.
We've been getting too much hate for it, Winterstein.
Yeah.
We got a whole week of Ukraine conflict shit.
Oh, Ukraine, golly. Another dumpster fire.
What do you mean? It's black and white, and there's one good side, and the death is
As
justified.
Kamala Harris said, a big country invaded a smaller country.
And a million
And-
people died.
That's not okay.
Yeah, there's no nuance. But, if you say that there's nuance and that the war should just end, especially if you say, I think that it's really shitty that NATO denied peace talks for 3.5 years to stop millions of, or to attempt, I will put that caveat there, to attempt millions of deaths from being prevented, you will be called a Russian sympathizer if you say that. It's happened. It's already happened. Winterstein and I are shills for the Kremlin, according to saying the simple fact that it is sad that NATO denied peace talks for 3.5 years, or at least attempted peace talks. They will tell you that that is Russian propaganda through and through, and that you are a shill for the Kremlin.
Yeah, and so these people that are saying they want war, how many wars have they been in? How many loved ones have they lost? How has their lives been affected by a war? Zero, zilch, more than likely. And if you go, my father died in the War of 1812. Well, you know what? So then why do you
Hang
want
on,
war?
hang on. Are these the same people that are still on the registry for the Social Security benefit? Are these
Probably.
the same people?
Probably, but I will say, for the longest time, I was very, very pro-war.
Sure.
I was.
Oh,
I really was.
we
We
all
were,
can
too.
admit that. Yeah. Oh yeah, we bought into the rhetoric of the fucking invasion of Iraq. Hell yeah.
But look at what it does, not only to the families, but our brothers and sisters. We're all veterans here. Our brothers and sisters that did get their opportunity to go to war. It's look at what it's doing to them. Who wants that?
I just read a book, and Winterstein has access to it. And if you wish, you're more than welcome to have access to it. It's on Audible, so I have to share an account. But it's a book called "War Is a Racket," and it was written by Brigadier General Winterstein.
Yeah, Brigadier General John A. Lejeune, a well-known Marine.
That wasn't Lejeune. Was it Lejeune? Let me make sure.
Yeah.
That's a Marine base, guys,
Or is
not
it-
a person.
No, Smedley. Smedley Butler.
It's Smedley Butler?
Yeah. It's Brigadier
Chef-
General. Good try. It's
Oh, that's cooler.
Brigadier
Oh,
General
way up.
Smedley Butler.
I just had one of those moments.
He's trying. He's trying. All right, hang on. We're going to cut really quick. We're going to cut that out. Okay. All right. So it's written by Brigadier General Smedley Butler. It was written in 1935. And it's called War is a Racket. Now, this is pre-World War II. And he starts lecturing about the military-industrial complex. 1935. Bear in mind, he's a veteran of World War I.
War hero.
And
Well-known
he is
Marine.
twice decorated Medal of Honor recipient. He's gotten the Medal of Honor twice. Like, that's a bad motherfucker, right? And he talks about basically provides receipts, and some of it is anecdotal, but most of it is based off of what he gathered about the military-industrial complex and what it looks like in World War I. And for example, there was something that he stated, and I don't want to misquote it, but he was saying that in 1913, a certain manufacturer of textiles, or maybe it was a cobbler, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was either a boot maker or a clothing maker that made X amount of uniforms for the fighting men, right? And at that time, there was only a certain amount of men at arms in the United States military. Let's say there was 1 million, right? And they put in an order for 8 million pairs of boots. But there was only ever 1.5 million men at arms in the United States military. And so they're doing the math and they're like, huh. He goes, there was an order paid for 8 million boots. However, each man was only issued 1 pair of boots. Where are the other 7 million boots? The order was paid in full, but the 7 million other boots are unaccounted for. And he starts listing off profits. There's another thing, mosquito nets. We're talking about France, right? We're talking about the Somme, the Ardennes, the Argonne. We're talking about all these different areas in France. United States military, right? They put in an order for over 1 million feet of mosquito netting. You know how many mosquitoes are in France? Not many. That order paid in full. You know how many mosquito nets were deployed to France? None.
What the fuck?
Not one. So then he starts listing off profits. And some of the profits are anywhere from 200% profit increase from 1913 to 1916. Or actually, he does it from 1914 to 1918. 200% to 1800% profit increase. And people want to talk about how the military-industrial complex has no play in anything going on right now. You're full of shit.
So
It's
Agreed.
you got
it's
that book,
insanity.
and also the documentary Peace War 9/11. Great watch. So you got a great read and a great watch
There you go.
if you
Yep.
want to look into war and the realities of war.
Yep. And if you want to watch the horrors of war or read about it, All Quiet on the Western Front. Cannot push that book and movie enough. But
Yeah, I just the conflict in Ukraine. I want to know what initially started it. Was it a land grab from Russia? Maybe.
I mean, the argument could be made after the invasion of Crimea.
Yeah.
But yes.
And I get a lot of things with it. I mean, I understand, Europe doesn't want Russia expanding out even further closer to them. Whatever, whether that's accurate or not. But I just think that, we want to talk about the industrial complex. The American government gave money, loans,
He's doing it.
gave loans to Ukraine to order weapons from American defense contractors. And so basically, the government saying, "Oh, we're gonna send over our stock, whatever we have in our stockpile, replenish it with new stuff that you're gonna buy from you. We're gonna give you this X amount of dollars. You have to buy your weapons from American defense contractors. The big ones, Raytheon, Lockheed, whatever. But you have to go through them. They put it under a foreign military. Don't remember what it's called, but you can look it up. And basically, the government, what they did oh, it's not gonna impact the taxpayers because, yeah, you're right, it's not gonna impact us now because you're selling off the stuff that we already did, but you're giving them this money from a stockpile that you had, and you're giving them used weapons for them to buy new weapons that we put in our arsenal, back in our arsenal, and you're the American government basically was robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
You know, and I'm sorry if this is going to rub people the wrong way. Do I think we should help Ukraine? I think, yeah, maybe, but why should we be footing the bill for it that doesn't impact us? All the argument could be made, well, if Ukraine loses, then it's going to impact us. Why? Why does it need to impact us? If I do not want to go to war, but I will have no problem partaking in violence if I have to protect my family from an invasion.
Oh, can't say that either, because all over TikTok, people are like, you sound like you're a bunch of fucking cowards. You mean you wouldn't fight if they were in your backyard? And to that, I have to say, damn, I forgot I was a Ukrainian citizen. That's crazy, man.
You're right. You're right. I would fight if they were in my backyard, but guess what? My backyard is in the United States of America, and good fucking luck getting here.
Especially saying of the topic that we thoroughly discussed earlier. Good old 2A, baby.
Exactly.
I forget what the quote was. I believe it was Emperor Hirohito of the Japanese Empire in World War II, where he said the invasion of the United States mainland would be impossible for in the United States, and I'm paraphrasing here, for in the United States, behind every blade of grass is an armed citizen.
100%.
But yeah.
I'm not saying we will never face an invasion, but you're looking at invading a country that has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of service members, probably the best arsenal in the world. And I know I'm doing, paraphrasing Donald Trump. I believe the rhetoric that China's so far more advanced than us is bullshit. My time being in the military and looking into stuff, the Russian technology, bullshit. It's just there to scare and push that propaganda to want us to have an enemy to go against. You know what?
And to further what? The advancement of the military-industrial complex. Because if you're adversaries, I'm not going to say enemies because I don't believe the rhetoric of the Cold War is still applicable. But to sit there and say, oh, well, our enemies are getting stronger, we have to outdo them. Well, what does that entail? Oh, well, we need to add more to the defense budget, and we have to have more development, more research and development.
And not only that, but the fear of the former Soviet Union and how motivated they were to expand is the justification for the continued existence of NATO itself.
But NATO's us. That was another comment we got.
Ties all the way back to the wise words of George Washington about becoming entangled in foreign affairs and how dangerous and what a dangerous precedence that would set in the future.
It's hilarious that George Washington literally said, basically, he basically, and again paraphrasing, said, don't ever reduce yourself down to two parties. And don't get in everyone else's bullshit. And what are we constantly doing? And what have we done? We did the exact thing that he said to never do. So, all these people that are like, oh, well, I thought the Minutemen would be supporting foreign wars. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. Look at how the Ottomans, or the United States, dealt with the Ottomans that were kidnapping Christians back in the 1700s. Just look at that. If you ever want to see how America dealt with shit, they literally said, if you don't fucking give us people back, we're going to send our Navy over there and fuck you up. And honestly, it just bothers me that we didn't do that with Ukraine. And that's my standpoint. we are running out of time, so we're gonna go ahead and we always do a closing thing. So, Monk, since you're the guest today, do you have anything that you'd want to end with?
Yeah. I really enjoyed this. And like I said, I am not left. I am not right. I am me. I enjoy what y'all do here. I hope I can come back on again. This was definitely fun. Like I said, my downfall is I don't know what to trust. So I just think with logic, and that's probably not the best thing to do. But again, I'm glad to see y'all doing this. I hope y'all keep doing this, and I really appreciate you letting me be on tonight.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
So what didn't we talk about today? Let's see. So yeah, misinformation was a big thing, and the dangers of freedom of speech, even though we agree that should be defended at all costs.
Yeah.
Best defense to the risks of freedom of speech, I think, is ensuring that there's a continued free and open exchange of ideas, like we try to do with the podcast, even invite people on that have opposing views. Because even though you disagree with people in a respectful way, who knows, maybe you'll learn something. And that's the best way to find out, with all the news sources being biased, either left or right. That's the best way to find out if your opinion was manipulated or not. Put it to the test. So
Right.
never be afraid to put your ideas to the test, and don't be afraid to change them when you learn new information.
Monk, thanks for coming on. It was great talking. It was good. We'll definitely have you back on. It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been a lot less charged atmosphere. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe. Any and all support helps, and we appreciate it. And we will catch you in the next one.